Who doesn't love the sound of a floor jack on concrete? With the car raised in the air on the jack, it's now time to take my time and put the jack stands underneath the car. There is no reason to rush safety at this point, so please, if I can stress anything, take your time at this step in the process. You know, jack it up no more than you have to. Don't be under the car any more than you have to until the jack stands are under there. Now, since I am going to need to drop the drag bar in order to get the rear diff cover off, I have to put the jack stands under the lower control arm mounts. Otherwise, I would put it right on the mounts for the drag bar if I was raising the car up to, say, for example, take the tires off. So this is a little different than normal routine, but after it's safely on the jack stands, I'm going to remove the floor jack so I can drop the drag bar, because the drag bar is blocking the diff cover. And like I said, please just take your time at this point. There's no reason to rush it. I do not want to think about a car falling on somebody because they were being careless. And I will do some time lapses through here, so some of this stuff will go by pretty quick, but it's kind of mundane work, so there's really no need to drag this video out showing you. And here I'm just checking it over and verifying that yes, I do indeed need to drop the drag bar. And there's just 4 bolts that hold the drag bar to the rear end. And that's that. It's dropped and out of the way. Now it's time to start removing the bolts that hold the rear diff cover on. And since it's a 12 bolt rear end, there are 12 bolts.
Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information.
And I do not like the smell of gear oil whatsoever, so I will be using disposable gloves so I don't get it on me. I don't mind getting dirty, I just don't like the smell of gear oil. Now it's time to break the seal. I used gasket maker last time, so there is no actual paper gasket or any type of gasket like that, so I will need to knock this loose. A little bit of persuasion with a hammer, and we do here eventually get it cracked loose, as you'll see the gear oil start to run out the bottom. Now it's time to take all the bolts completely out so I can pull the cover. To drain it, I just broke them loose. And off comes the cover. And I dropped it into the gear oil. Needless to say, I said a few adult words that I did not play in this video. Well, with all the fluid drained, now it's time to reinstall the diff cover, and I used Permatex Ultra Black gasket maker. I applied it to the actual cover itself, and I'm going to carefully place it in there without smearing it, and try to line it up right off the bat so I don't smear any in a spot that I don't want it, or remove some where I need it. Just take your time and don't get in a rush. Once I get the cover placed, I'll put a couple bolts in it to hold it in place, and then I will slowly put all the rest of the bolts in and just kind of lightly snug it. I don't want to tighten it all the way. I want the gasket maker to set up just a little bit before I completely tighten it. And right here I'm just cleaning up some gear oil that was on the housing. But I'll give this like half hour, 40 minutes to set up a little bit before I snug the bolts the rest of the way down. And I do change my disposable gloves often. And I like to keep my work area clean, so I am constantly picking up my trash, getting it out of the way. And now it's time to finish snugging down all the bolts to their final position. As tight as I'm going to get them, I guess, I should say. Now you want to scrape and clean the surface where the diff cover mounts, really well. I want to get all the old gasket maker off and make sure it's, there's no gear oil on it. So I want it to be good and dry. Here I'm just kind of checking over the gears, and everything looks good. I didn't see any wear or any metal shavings or anything weird, which is all good. And I had a little bit of brake clean or engine degreaser, I'm not sure what it was, but used it up and sprayed it on there to clean it. And I told the young man at the auto parts store that I wanted a diff cover gasket for a 12 bolt out of a 70 Chevelle, and he argued with me a little bit and sold me one, and here I'm trying to figure out if it's going to work or not. But my advice would be to look it up, write down the part number you want, and take it to the store and tell them that's what you want. Don't let them look it up for you, because chances are you'll get the wrong thing. And I decided to try holding it up to the rear end to see if I could get the bolt holes to line up. And I turned and flipped it and everything else, and it did not work. And it said right on the package, not returnable once open, so I'll give it one last shot here. And oh yeah, it's just not going to work. Even though the instructions in it said to apply a light coating of gasket maker on both sides of the paper gasket, so I'm not really sure what the point of the paper gasket is. If you're going to do that, you might as well just use the gasket maker. Well, it's time to put the gear oil in, and I have made this tool with a 9/16 headed bolt welded to a 3/8 half-inch drive socket that will fit right into the plug, and I can take it right out and put it right back in. I'm using 75 W90 gear oil, Lucas oil, and to ease this a little bit, I put a short piece of rubber hose on the end of the bottle, so it'll fit right down in the the fill opening. And the fluid's leaking out, you know it's full, and it's time to put the plug back in. And like I said before, I hate the smell of gear oil. Ugh. And I apologize for the bright light there. If you look at the empty bottle there to the right of the screen, you can see the piece of rubber hose that I had cut and stuck on the end of it. Now I'm just cleaning up what spilled out once it was full. Now it's time to bolt the drag bar back in place. And I'm remembering right this moment that I use the floor jack to help hold it up. Work smarter, not harder. Of course, I time-lapse this a little bit, so you know, it gets through the process a little quicker that way. And right here is where I noticed that the passenger side axle seal is leaking. But that'll be for another time. I slid a piece of cardboard under here and checked on it a week later, and no leaks to be found. So now it's time to take a test drive. Thanks for watching.